Bliss back.
Solo surprise.
And the Wyatts are calling. Hello, welcome to Wrestle MSX. I'm Michael.
I'm Sally.
And just like Raw, there was only one way to open the show, and that's with the Rumble winner, Mr. Yeetmania himself, Jey Uso. After saying he'd had a good week, he called out, of course, Cody Rhodes. Cody entered the ring, hugged Jey, and said, "I think I know what you want to talk about," adding that he's proud of Jey winning the Rumble. Rhodes said he has to go to the main event and he has to win. So if you choose me, let's make a memory here tonight. Let's have some fun, because it will be the last time. I couldn't really gauge what he was getting at here. Maybe the last time they have fun before things get serious at Mania. If Jey opts for Cody, that's all I'm assuming. Anyway, luckily for me, Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga interrupted them. After getting in the ring, Fatu accused Cody of taking the title, adding that his family need it back. Jacob then turned his attention to Jey, saying that if there was anybody to bring the title back to his family, it sure as well wouldn't be him. Jey then superkicked Tama, Jacob superkicked Jey, with Cody and Jacob then going at it. Cody was about to eat a hip attack, but Jey made the save with a superkick. Cody hit a Cody cutter, with the two then sending Fatu over the top rope. Not surprisingly, Cody and Jey will team up later to take on Tama and Jacob. Be our 100th subscriber. As of recording, we're on 99.
So close.
If we are on 100, just subscribe anyway. And if you do, thank you.
Out next, Bianca Belair versus Piper Niven in an Elimination Chamber qualifying match. Naomi with Belair, Green with Niven. After an immediately failed KOD, Belair hit Niven with mounted punches, with Piper breaking free but getting sent out the ring. Belair followed, but got cross-bodied into the side of the apron and then squashed with a running senton by Niven. We must have had a break, because all of a sudden we see Belair launching herself off the top rope with a crossbody to Niven and a cover for two. Niven hits back with a spinning bossman slam, a cover only getting a 2, so decides to pull out a cannonball and Vader bomb on Bianca. Incredibly, only for 2 again. Belair then dodges a corner attack and kicks Niven before setting her up for the KOD. Niven getting a foot on the bottom turnbuckle just to give Belair a fighting chance of lifting her. With the KOD hit, Belair covers Niven and picks up the victory, qualifying her for the Elimination Chamber.
Backstage, we see Nick Aldis speaking with Katana Chance and Caden Carter when they're interrupted by Carmelo Hayes. Aldis tells Hayes he's going up against a Raw superstar tonight. Hayes isn't interested, saying he's done that with Strowman and Priest, when there's a knock at the door. In walks Tozawa. Hayes has a big smile on his face, with Aldis saying that Hayes cost Tozawa his spot in the Rumble, which means it could have cost him his spot at WrestleMania.
Yeah, definitely.
Highly unlikely. Hayes said, "This is perfect." Of course he did.
Out next, DIY. After saying they're the best in the world, Ciampa asks for a moment of silence for the Motor City Machine Guns, as them ever holding the tag titles again is officially dead. As Ciampa bows his head and asks the crowd to quieten down, out come the Yes Boys.
Yes, boy!
Pretty deadly. Prince says they're out here to remind DIY of all the help they gave them to keep the titles. Gargano says they're doing a minute's silence with Nick Aldis, then heading out. Nick proposes Pretty Deadly go against DIY, and if they win, they get a title shot. Gargano says next week. Aldis says right now.
Back from the break, and we're straight into the action with Prince and Ciampa in the ring. DIY fighting in their street clothes, as they didn't think they'd be in a match tonight. Prince manages to throw Ciampa and Gargano out the ring. Ciampa had tagged in Johnny, with Prince then making his way over to Wilson and making the tag. Wilson gets the better of both members of DIY before tagging back in Prince, with PD then hitting a bad apple gunbuster and Prince covering Gargano for 2. Ciampa tags back in, with him and Prince then going at it in the middle of the ring. Gargano then has a scuffle with Prince near the ropes, which Ciampa uses to his advantage, rolling Prince up for the cover and holding the ropes for leverage. Wilson comes to his partner's aid and kicks Ciampa, breaking the pin. This then allows Prince to roll up Ciampa, who also uses the ropes for leverage. It works with the "Yes, boys!" picking up the win and earning the title shot. And no, the ref didn't see it.
Obviously. Backstage, Miz is still trying to recruit Andrade, who is still not interested and walks off, when Cody Rhodes walks past. After downplaying the new guys, Miz says he'll always have Cody's back, because they're old school. Cody responds by saying he doesn't need him to have his back. Miz goes on to say, are you still going to be friends with Jey if he chooses you and main events WrestleMania? Shadow Shinsuke is skulking around in the background once again.
What is he doing? We hear from John Cena from the post-show of the Royal Rumble again and his declaration of being in the Elimination Chamber.
Totally going to win. Next up, a triple threat Elimination Chamber qualifying match between Drew McIntyre, LA Knight and Jimmy Uso. Before the match, Drew spoke saying that he was slightly annoyed after the Rumble, so he went home, slept, woke up in the morning and had an epiphany. He realised that Raw is a toxic environment, so when his phone rang and it was Nick Aldis, he jumped at the chance to join SmackDown. Drew said he's after Cody, or rather what he has, the WWE Championship. Jimmy came out next saying Drew is living in the past, sounding like an ex-girlfriend, and that he lost the title so he has to earn his spot. Drew said, I'm a different man, and that a few weeks ago I'd be angry, but I'm cool, Jey, before saying Jimmy. This raised a smile from both men.
Now, I've no doubt there will be a few wrestling news outlets out there claiming this was accidental. Drew called Jimmy Jey during a promo when it was clearly a work, so calm yourselves. Anyway, Drew said they're both talented and Jimmy may have been where Jey is if he'd have said yeet first. Jimmy says he's here to punch his ticket, telling Drew he's got to go through Big Jim and he's ready to kick Drew's ass. The two throw their mics ready to go, but then LA Knight heads out. Knight says he has no love for Jimmy, then looks straight down the camera and addresses all the men and boys around the world. Knight says that if you have to cry, it's good for you and to let it out. It's good for your mental health and it doesn't make you any less of a man. Hear, hear. Knight, though, is sick of Drew crying and heard someone from the crowd call Drew McIntyre. Knight says the two are going to meet a 3 count before getting in the ring.
Back from the break, and we're already started with Knight and Jimmy teaming up against Drew before Jimmy tries to throw LA out the ring. Knight lands on the apron, launching himself back into the ring and hitting Drew. Knight goes back to Jimmy with McIntyre attacking Knight from behind, landing a stiff shot. Knight responds with an equally stiff shot before Jimmy breaks them apart, dealing with Knight. Jimmy goes for a cover on Drew after a Samoan drop, but Knight breaks it up. A headbutt from Drew slows LA down with a Scottish Warrior, then suplexing both his opponents, just tossing them down.
Drew attempts to throw Jimmy out the ring, but Jimmy reverses it, throwing Drew out instead, then following up with a dive out the ring. Knight soon joins them, slamming Drew's head into the announcer's desk before doing the same to Jimmy. Back from the break, and we're back in the ring with Jimmy and Drew on the top rope. Jimmy knocks Drew down with him ending up in the Tree of Woe. Knight then gets back in the ring, jumps up to Jimmy and hits him with a superplex. As Knight jumps up though, Drew sits up, still in the tree, and belly to, or rather face to butt, suplexes Knight.
Everyone takes a minute before Drew and Knight exchange chops, with LA winning out and DDTing Drew before dropping an elbow from the top rope. The cover, of course, getting broken up on 2 by Jimmy. A jackknife cover gets Drew a 2 after a spinebuster on Knight, with McIntyre then going for a claymore on Jimmy. Jimmy beats him to the punch though with a super kick before sending him out the ring. Knight and Jimmy then go at it, with the Uso winning out with a super kick before going up top and landing a splash. As he covers Knight for the victory, Drew pulls the referee out the ring just as he's about to make the 3 count. Jimmy leaves the ring and fights Drew, sending him to the announcer's desk before climbing to the top turnbuckle again. Jimmy goes for another splash on Knight, but Knight gets the knees up and rolls Jimmy up for a 2 count. Knight then attempts a BFT on Jimmy, but ends up getting claymored from behind. This takes both Jimmy and Knight out, with Drew then covering Knight and getting the win.
Which I thought he would, to be fair.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been LA Knight, but I think...
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, backstage, Byron Saxton is speaking with Damien Priest, and he asks for his reaction to what he just saw. Priest says he's having a great time, and that if he wasn't, he'd be crying about it on the internet by now, clearly mocking Drew, before going on to say he's going to eliminate him in the chamber. Braun Strowman then rolls up, telling Priest to slow down, reminding him he's in an Elimination Chamber qualifier match with himself and Jacob Fatu next week. That's going to be unbelievable. So has to beat them before he can talk about eliminating Drew. Now I think Priest will win that, because I've got a feeling that Fatu and Braun are just going to beat themselves to a pulp. And then, because there's no count-outs for a triple threat.
Yeah.
So it's not like they could
They've
end
still
up
got a
into
bit
the
of
crowd
beef,
and
haven't
then
they?
not come back in after 10. So, and I can see Priest picking up the pieces. I mean, it probably will be Jacob. I understand why.
Yeah.
Because he's red hot at the moment. I mean, it won't be Braun. It should be Braun because he's massive. But it won't be Braun. It never is.
No, I think, yeah.
And it'd be
that's
nice if Priest... But I could see Priest getting there, but I think it'll be Jacob. Let us know in the comments down below what you think.
After a recap of the package piledriver to Sami from KO, we hear from Owens, who's in his car.
Not driving.
Owens blames Sami for the pain he's suffered and may always suffer, saying Sami stood and watched while Cody tried to end his career. Yet during the Rumble, Sami rushed to Roman's aid while someone was beating him up,
That's got a point.
adding he's a horrible friend and vowing to make him pay. We then learn that Sami is out indefinitely.
Might not be making that WrestleMania match everybody's banging on about against Owens. Tozawa's out next for his match against Carmelo Hayes. Akira flying out the traps, attacking Hayes before the bell, and then sending him out the ring and following with the crossbody. Back from the break, and we're back in the ring before heading outside and then back in, with Melo taunting the crowd and then covering Tozawa for 2. After 2 more pin attempts from Hayes following a slam and a snap suplex, we hit a break, come back and see Hayes still in control. That is until Hayes sends Tozawa towards the ropes and pops him up, maybe looking for a first 48. Akira though counters and hits a DDT, with the cover getting a 2. Tozawa goes up top, Hayes catches him with a kick, but it doesn't stop Tozawa hitting a sunset flip powerbomb and covering for 2. Hayes then puts the match to bed with a springboard DDT followed by nothing but net. The cover of course getting the 3 count.
Joe Tessitore lets us know that they've reached out to Paul Heyman to find out the status of Roman Reigns. As of yet, they haven't heard back from Paul.
Jerry Lawler's in the house before we head backstage to see R-Truth helping Tozawa. Truth tells Tozawa to never give up before seeing Jey Uso and dropping Akira. Truth approaches Jey, congratulating him on becoming King of the Ring, before Jey corrects him and tells him to check on his boy. Truth turns to Tozawa, saying he's yeet on himself before heading back over to him. Rhodes then appears asking Jey how he feels about WrestleMania. Jey says he'd like to go one-on-one with him at Mania, but he also has beef with Gunther and would like to beat him too. Jey says he's undecided before heading off.
Out next, Charlotte Flair.
Ooh.
Flair asks the crowd if they love or hate her, before saying she's the best, blah blah blah. She then asked the crowd if they think she was going to be gone for 14 months and not come back and win the Royal Rumble. She's now here, after going to Raw and NXT looking for inspiration, to see if Tiffany can. Out comes the WWE Women's Champion. Tiffany gets in the ring and then congratulates Flair and welcomes her back. She then goes on to say that she thought WWE couldn't survive without Flair. And then she got injured and everybody cared for like 1 day. Now Stratton's here, sales have gone up and WWE's hotter than it's ever been.
Did you say something? Responded Flair, before telling Stratton she can speak when she says she can speak, adding there are other women claiming to be on top. Stratton says people have compared her to Flair, then asks to be picked, claiming to be able to beat Flair at Mania. Flair responds by saying when she was in the ring with Rhea, she saw a kid. When she looks at Stratton, she sees a child, before telling Stratton to get on her hands and knees and beg her to choose her for Mania. Just then, Nia Jax heads out with Candice LeRae. Jax has news. Apparently, Nick Aldis has made a match next week for Jax to go up against Stratton for the title.
Oh.
With Flair saying she may stick around to see what happens. We then hear Alexa Bliss's music hits as she heads to the ring for her Elimination Chamber qualifying match against Candice LeRae.
Back from the break and the match gets underway. After a bit of back and forth, Bliss sets LeRae up for Sister Abigail, which LeRae fights out of. Candice then controls the match with kicks, hits and a couple of pinfall attempts. LeRae takes Bliss outside before returning them both to the ring and beating up Bliss some more. With Bliss in the corner, LeRae decides to pick up the Lily doll, which Bliss brought down to the ring with her. Drop it and then stomp on it in the middle of the ring before kicking it. This angers Bliss, but not enough for LeRae to stay in control, with more hits and some stretching.
LeRae then taunts Bliss, which backfires as Bliss turns the tables, beating the hell out of LeRae and covering her for 2. LeRae drops Bliss on the ropes and then heads to the top rope to launch a missile dropkick. It connects with a follow-up cover, getting a 2 count. After the kick out, the screen flickers. No, it's not glitching out like Raw. This seems more purposeful, like a calling. After rolling around with both competitors looking for a cover, LeRae bounces off the ropes and straight into a Sister Abigail, which Tessitore calls an Abigail DDT. Bliss covers and picks up the win, joining Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair in the Elimination Chamber. This was boring. I mean, it was all about Bliss.
Yeah.
But LeRae not really seemed to know what to do. Anyway, more importantly, the Wyatt seemed to be making a play for Alexa.
Backstage, Saxton's with Chelsea Green and Piper Niven. Green says next week she's going to beat Naomi and then win the Elimination Chamber before heading off to WrestleMania and becoming double champ. In walks B-Fab and Meechin. Fab isn't happy that Green eliminated her from the Rumble, and Meechin says that she might make it to the Elimination Chamber, but also might not be champion, telling Green to stop stalling. As they walk off, Zelina Vega walks in, saying as she's on SmackDown now, maybe she should get a chance at the title.
Next we see a vignette from the Street Profits, and I get the feeling they've turned heel because they're wearing black. Anyway, and they bring in the smoke.
Nice. We head to the locker room next, where Byron Saxton is with the Motor City Machine Guns. He asks them if they've processed everything. They say they have, when Los Garza walk in. Garza say it's time for a new team to step up. Shelley asks if they want to step up, when in steps Elektra Lopez, who's then interrupted by Santos Escobar. Santos says he's upset with the Street Profits, adding that he and Los Garza are frustrated, before telling Motor City to be prepared next week.
One to look forward to. Last match of the night, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus Tama Tonga and Jacob Fatu. After 20 minutes of ring entrances, not quite, but you get the picture, we're left with 12 minutes of ring time. Tama starts, then tags in Jacob, who counters a Cody cutter and then hits Rhodes with a senton. Rhodes escapes the ring to get away from the werewolf, which doesn't pay off as Jacob follows him, slamming his head into the announcer's desk before heading back in the ring and tagging in Tama. Tama lays into the champ before tagging Fatu back in. Rhodes gets slapped around as we're on an ad break in America, so not much can happen, before Rhodes is whipped into the corner and squashed by Jacob, who tags Tama back in.
Rhodes avoids a corner attack and hot tags Jey, who lights up Tama before hip attacking him and covering for 2. Fatu then breaks up another cover before super kicking Jey when the ref wasn't looking. Tama covers, but only for 2 before tagging in Fatu, who knocks Rhodes off the apron. Fatu slams Jey into the mat and then tags Tama back in, who jumps over the ropes and lands on a still down Jey. Jey and Tama then drop one another with a double clothesline, with both eventually getting up and tagging their respective partners. Rhodes bests Fatu, putting him down with a slam and disaster kick before hitting a top rope Cody cutter. Rhodes goes for the pin, but Fatu throws him off on one. Rhodes shocked.
Me as well. Rhodes decides to go for a crossroads. Jacob counters and pushes Cody into the corner, but misses the follow-up attack. Tama tags in and hits a sliding flatliner on Rhodes and then covers for 2. Rhodes goes up top, but Fatu pushes him off, the ref's not looking, with Tama following up with his jumping DDT, the cover again getting 2. Tama calls for Fatu, so after a super kick from the Samoan werewolf, we see him wind up for a spear, bouncing off the ropes for speed. Jey makes a comeback, pulling Fatu from the ring before then getting in himself, diving out again at Jacob and sending him flying over the announcer's desk. Back in the ring, Rhodes sets Tama up for crossroads, hits it and covers Tonga for the 1, 2, 3. As Rhodes celebrates in the ring, a hooded figure attacks him. At first you think it's KO. I did. Why wouldn't it be?
Exactly.
But the fact the figure spiked Rhodes tells me it ain't Owens and is in fact solo Sikoa. Solo removes his hood and then jacket as he stands over a downed Rhodes, with SmackDown then going off the air. The Bloodline 2.0 leader is back. Does this mean he's getting the band back together to face off against the White Six down the line?
No. Because Bloodline 2.0 would batter the Wyatts. I mean, come on. Jacob alone would eat them for breakfast.
Oh my, yeah. White, it's just Jacob against the White. He'd maul them.
Yeah.
He'd absolutely. Again, just standard SmackDown. It wasn't a 10. It wasn't a 0. It was just your standard SmackDown.
Still enjoyable.
I mean, you're not going to get 9s and 10s
every week. No.
No, they save that.
Of course.
For the big main events. So I'd give it about a 6.397, I think.
Oh, spot on, yeah. I was thinking exactly the same.
Oh, that's amazing. Any comments or views you'd like to share, then please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Thank you for watching.
And we'll see you Tuesday for Raw.